Facts don't care about your feelings, a phrase which launched Ben Shapiro into intellectual meme stardom. The phrase is from Shapiro's appearance on a show where he discussed Caitlyn Jenner's coming out. Of course, the conversation on the show was very calm, polite, and civil, with no particularly noteworthy interactions. But neither Shapiro nor his appearance on the show are the topic of this video. Rather, this video is going to be about the core idea behind the phrase. The basic idea is that facts should inform our ideas, and we should act according to facts rather than let our emotions dictate our actions. In other words, use cold, hard logic based on the evidence to decide what to believe or what to do. Although facts might not care about your feelings, I do, and so does liberalism. So to make me feel better, you should hit the like button on the video and subscribe to the channel. It takes only 2 seconds for you, but could help the channel immensely. Anyway, how does liberalism care about your feelings? Or if you want to get even deeper, how do feelings impact politics? Well, the answer might surprise you. Emotions and politics, especially political theory, have a long and tumultuous history. From Stoicism of the ancients all the way to liberalism of today, we have been trying to take emotions out of politics in some form or another because emotions can be messy and irrational. It might seem today emotions are a lot more prominent politically, but really they have always been part of our political reality. And some philosophers have even tried to incorporate them into politics. David Hume and Adam Smith both have talked in great detail about how sentiment and feelings not only shape the way we live, but also the way we think. They even formulate their moral philosophy around feelings. Even Aristotle, who arguably wrote the first scientific book on politics, discusses feelings. Anyone who has ever read a political theory book knows Aristotle as a philosopher who said, "Man is by nature a political animal." But what a lot of people wrongly assume about this sentence is that they think Aristotle is referring to sociability of human beings, because in the next breath, he talks about the ability of people to speak. Aristotle writes, "And why man is a political animal in a greater measure than any bee or any gregarious animal is clear. For nature, as we declare, does nothing without purpose, and man alone of the animals possesses speech. The mere voice, it is true, can indicate pain and pleasure, and therefore is possessed by other animals as well, for their nature has been developed so far as to have sensations of what is painful and pleasant, and to indicate those sensations to one another. But speech is designed to indicate the advantageous and the harmful, and therefore also the right and the wrong, for it is the special property of man in distinction from the other animals that he alone has perception of good and bad, and right and wrong, and the other moral qualities, and it is partnership in these things that makes a household and a city-state." So what this means is that man is a political animal because he can express himself. And furthermore, what is advantageous and harmful really are what cause pain and pleasure. And so cities are really built to make our life as pleasurable as possible. This does not make him a hedonist, not at all, because he does not believe all pleasures are equal, nor whatever gives you pleasure can be advantageous for you in the long run. Politics is built for us to attain the highest pleasures, which is, at least for him, studying philosophy, making politics the ultimate science, because it is the only science that helps us design a way of life that can be for the sake of the higher pursuits. Without a stable and good political order, people will always be in a state of being lesser because they will not be able to pursue the highest good. It is true that we look at politics today with very pessimistic eyes, because we consider it synonymous with corruption. But Aristotle's perspective gives us a politics that is about fulfilling our most deepest and most important desire, attaining happiness and fulfillment. Politics, at the end of the day, is about your feelings, or rather, about feeling good and happy. This goes even further for someone like Hume, who writes, "Reason is forever the handmaid of sentiment." This is perhaps the phrase David Hume is best known for. The idea for Hume is that not only politics is about sentiment, but the very way we reason and think about the world is dominated by our feelings. Basically, we don't think about what we should want and rationally deduce what is good. What we actually do is feel like we want something and proceed to justify it via reason. For anyone who has ever been in a political debate of any kind, this should be pretty obvious. Think about it. How many people have you talked to who, from your perspective, had very irrational beliefs and did the most incredible philosophical acrobatics you have ever seen to justify their belief? This is very normal because that is the way we think. We feel like we want something either because it makes us happy or because we feel it will make us happy if we attain it, and then use our reason to justify why we want or should have that thing. What does this have to do with liberalism? Well, keep in mind, liberalism is about making a system of government where people can pursue their desires as long as the law and established institutions are not transgressed in its pursuit. This makes liberal democracies one of the most enduring political systems in the world because it does not ask much from a citizen. It doesn't require stoicism, suppression of ambition, nor abandonment of greed. In fact, it kind of encourages them. By building institutions in a way that accounts for people's vices, it designs the system in a way that different people's vices are put in check by other people's vices. Or as James Madison put it, ambition is made to check ambition. Emancipation of desires is one of liberalism's core underlying tenets, which is not talked about a lot. But it is this tenet which makes liberalism desirable. However, this is not a tenet that is beyond criticism. One of the most important critiques launched against liberalism's emancipation of desires is that it reduces moral claims to mere emotions, or what people call emotivism. Emotivism suggests that ethical statements are really emotional proclamations, which makes critiquing people's ethical propositions irrational, because it's equivalent of telling someone, you are wrong because you're not feeling what you're feeling, even though you're feeling what you're feeling. This means liberalism really has no moral theory, but is at its core almost nihilistic. Needless to say, I disagree with this critique, because although our feelings are legitimate by virtue of being felt, that doesn't mean their source and the outcome are legitimate. I see a guy with a pink shirt. Since I hate the color pink, I get angry at the guy, so I proceed to attack him. My feeling of anger is legitimate because I am feeling it. The fact that it was caused by someone wearing a color I hate is not legitimate because it is irrational. Him wearing pink doesn't affect me in any way. Furthermore, my reaction based on my feeling of anger is also illegitimate because if I just pass him by, I can put him out of sight and out of mind. By attacking him, I am committing an irrational act that can be resolved in a much more mundane and amicable way. To say facts don't care about your feeling is a very incorrect statement, because at our core, we are feeling creatures, and we let our emotions control daily lives without even knowing it. This is a human reality. So we need a political system that accounts for it, and liberalism does in fact tries to make the best of it by utilizing it in its institutional arrangements. It would be more accurate to say, we decide which facts to adopt based on our feelings, which is not always a good thing for sure. It can certainly be beneficial in certain situations, but sometimes it works to our detriment. This is why you have some very odd and irrational conversation with your uncle during Thanksgiving. Emotions come with a lot of responsibility. In particular, we need to always question why we feel a certain way when something happens and think before we act based on our emotions. Emotions can lead us astray, so it is important for us to be cognizant of them and try to figure out the best way to use them, just like liberalism does. I will end the video with the wise word of contemporary everyday philosophers from Walmart, dear viewer. Live, love, and laugh.